Hey guys, welcome back to Cody Tarot. I'm your tarot reader, Cody. So for today's pick a card, we are going to be doing a what needs to heal reading. So it's a little different than other readings that I have done on my channel, but I am really excited to get into this with you guys. I kind of had a epiphany about my channel and kind of like the growth I want to take it and where I want to take it and stuff. Because I have been posting a lot of love readings, and although those are really good, I want to branch out and do some other readings as well. Also, if you like this reading, let me know in the comments. And also let me know if you prefer the love readings more than these readings, if you feel like those are more beneficial for you. So yeah, let's get into it for the healing reading, the what needs to heal. This could be general things that need to heal. If you don't have any major blockages or anything like that, this is probably just going to end up being some self-care messages and of that nature. If you have some major blockages you trying to work through on your healing journey, we'll probably be covering those. So without further ado, let's get into the crystals. So for your first group, we have honey opal. It's that stone right there. And for our second group, we have Smokey quartz. For our third group, we have this Herkimer diamond. And last, for our fourth group, we have Hemimorphite. I used to call this the cyan stone because I forgot what it was called. And then I discovered, rediscovered the name of it. I found the name that I wrote down when I actually bought it, and it's actually called Hemimorphite. Similar looking to blue aragonite, but this one's not blue aragonite, it's Hemimorphite. Anyway, fun facts aside, I'll let you pick your crystal. You can pause the video here if you need to. And with that said, we are going to get into group one with the honey opal. Hey, group one, this is if you chose the honey opal. So let's get into your reading. So the first card that flipped up upright was Message in a Bottle. We have this beautiful stork sitting on top of this bottle that's floating in what appears to be a somewhat calm ocean, and there's some seashells and stuff on the bottle as well. That's the first card that flipped up upright. So as far as your healing reading goes, I'm going to flip over the other cards now and we will get into the reading. So this is kind of like the gift or blessing that the healing journey will help bring you, or the problem you're kind of working through. That's like the core thing right here. And then we have self-care oracle cards. These are little messages to help you with healing that are going to be beneficial. And then I have this new deck that I'm using, this Native American Tarot deck, to help with the reading as well. So we have Three of Wands, Ace of Chalices, Eight of Wands, King of Wands, and the Tower. Okay, let's get into your reading. What I'm seeing so far is a bit abstract, but let me see if I can bring it down into the realms of understanding. Okay, so true love come to me. True love shall come to me as I do will, so mote it be. This is kind of like a self-love is kind of like the thing that is needs healing, for example. For some of you, you might feel that you have a lot of self-love, and then for others you might feel like you lack it in great amounts. I'm definitely seeing that for some of you there is an element of like lacking, like feeling like you don't have any self-love at all. And then for others of you, I feel like you're working on this journey, so some of this is going to make sense to you. But there's actually kind of like a deeper core issue for both groups when we get into the Ace of Chalices right here. So let's start with your tarot cards, and then we will get into the rest of the reading. So that's basically the core issue right here. So with Three of Wands to start out, this is just showing that in trying to find true love for yourself, or this could even be trying to find love for yourself in order to attract a mate, kind of like feeling like, and this might not be what society has put upon you, this might be something that you've thought of yourself, kind of thinking that like, I probably should love myself before anyone else loves me, or I probably should focus on my own self-love before, you know, I can attract love from someone else. And I'm definitely seeing here that with this Three of Wands card, if you look at this guy, he is shooting an arrow from his horse from one hilltop. He's like reached the highest hilltop, right? Where these other hilltops are also very high, but he's reached this highest peak above these clouds and stuff, and he's shooting an arrow into the heavens. This is basically just saying that you're, in a sense, you're relying on the divine to bring you this love and connection. And what we're seeing here is it's like, for some of you, it's been working a little bit, but there's also another experience that might actually benefit you. So with the Three of Wands, we see that you're focused upward. You're focused, you have your eye on the sky, you have like these lofty visions. With the Three of Wands being about expansion as well, it's this idea of wanting to expand outward before working on the inward stuff. And kind of like thinking that this love, or this kind of like feeling of love that you're going to get is going to come from outside you. So for a lot of you, I feel like if you've already been on this love journey, you already realize this love needs to come from within. Or you know that like when you have those moments, even if they are brief, that self-love kind of, when it comes from within, it feels more grand and more beneficial to you than when it comes from without. You kind of like appreciate it more, I'm seeing. And for those of you who feel like you have no self-love, or feel like your vessel is empty, it's because you're constantly looking outside yourself to fulfill that need inside you. Specifically looking outside and up, like looking to maybe overindulging in kind of like, how do I put this, like pseudo-spiritualism, where you're looking for some answer outside yourself or some divine thing outside yourself before looking within and focusing on kind of like the needs of like what's going on inside your body, basically. With Ace of Chalices right here, we see that there's like, the Ace of Cups usually represents kind of like a, hold on, I'll pull that card up again. The Ace of Cups usually represents kind of like overwhelming or an overspringing of emotions from this cup that's just overflowing, right? The cup is so full that it overflows. And that's kind of the goal we want to get to, because the Ace of Cups really represents this reading quite well. If you use your own tarot and you see the Ace of Cups come up in your readings, this might be a sign or a signal that you are on the right track with your self-love journey, because the Ace of Cups is all about self-love. It's a singular cup and it's overflowing with so many emotions, so much positivity. There's a dove on the top representing a sense of peace. That's kind of what we want to get to. This card is interesting because this deck has some interesting imagery to it, right? This card right here, we see a snake, right? And he has tipped the cup over and the cup is spilling out onto the ground. So this is just representing, specifically with this snake, this is kind of representing like Kundalini energy. And I'm in no way, shape, or form am I a master of this subject. I will tell you that right off the bat. But I've heard about it and I've read about it. And what I'm seeing here is this could be very beneficial for you as well. To kind of focus on raising your chakras, starting from the root chakra to the sacral to the solar plexus, so on and so forth to the crown, starting from the base and moving upward. And this is going to give you a strong sense of grounding, where you're starting from within, you're starting with your body, you're starting with rooting yourself. And that's going to get this snake kind of like on a path or trajectory. And kind of like what's going to happen is this snake, which is kind of down here tipping this vase over, he's going to spiral up and lift the vase upright. right? He's going to lift the vase upright. And that's what we see here with the Eight of Wands, is we see a vase that's lifted upright, and we see all these people around in the environment. This is interesting because this represents people in your environment minding their own business away from you. So this is just saying that if you feel like you have to cater to the needs of other people, if you feel like you have to focus on so many other people's needs that you can't focus on your own, this is a strong indication that focusing on your own and getting this cup upright, things will just take care of themselves around you, right? The Eight of Wands also traditionally represents kind of like fast movement or sometimes manifestation in the way I view it. And this is something that's really going to be beneficial once you start aligning your chakras, and you don't have to do this like the whole complete Kundalini awakening process, because for some people that can take a lot of time. But as long as you're working in that direction, it's kind of like when you have a tube of toothpaste and you have the last bit of toothpaste at the bottom of the container and you're squeezing it onto a toothbrush. You start at the bottom and you squeeze all the way up until the toothpaste comes out the top and you can brush your teeth with it. So that's kind of like a similar thing here. The snake has to swirl around all the way to the top. And even if it's almost like if this cup, you feel like it tips over again, you just start that process over again. So basically a strong sense of meditation where you would start from the base chakra and lift all the way up, kind of letting that snake squeeze the energy from your body all the way up and out through your crown chakra is going to lift this vase. And you can kind of imagine it like that. You can even imagine kind of like a imaginary snake, kind of like swirling around your body and kind of squeezing the energy up and out through the top. It's going to get everything flowing correctly and flowing out of that top chakra into the universe, basically. And it's going to, basically the whole point of this is it's going to lift the cup upright, the vase upright. And that way it's not spilled over and pouring out all over the place. This is going to give you a strong sense of like self-identity, I'm seeing, and it's also going to help get other people's attention off you. With this Eight of Wands, if you notice these people in the background, they're all minding their own business, and the cup is to the forefront of the image. The thing here is other people will kind of start to mind their own business. They won't be focused on you so much. They won't be either getting in your way so much. And at the same time, they'll start to take care of themselves without you having to totally worry about them. This is something that can kind of happen when we focus on self-love for ourselves. It's almost like I wouldn't think of it too much as like helping someone, but as a sense of resonating, right? As soon as you start to like vibrate on like this level, then everyone else around you can like vibrate on that level as well. Or it kind of like transmits in a way. Now there are some interesting things here, because what we first started with was this idea of seeking outward and above and beyond, and looking for things in the divine, looking for messages and experiences in the divine. And in a way, the situation was having to wait for those things, right? The thing with message in a bottle, and I'm going to get to this again in the end of the reading, but this is about sending off a message to someone and then waiting for it to be received. So something that's going to be a little side benefit that you're going to get from this kind of situation is being able to send a message out to people that you kind of don't, how do I put this? If you're looking for like replies back from people, or you're looking for recognition from outside towards yourself, like we talked about in the first card, message in a bottle is saying that sending that out, you're not going to need to get a response back right away. And the reason for that is because you're focused on this self-love. This vase is upright. The water has not spilled out onto the situation or the person. You know, you are sending a message in a bottle to them. You're sending a message to them, but at the same time, you have water in and of yourself. You know, you don't need to like send a bottle down the river and wait for them to return it. You know, you have your own bottle, basically your own vase that is filled for yourself. So no matter how much you kind of indulge in the outer world, and this is actually for some of you could be a mild like thing or annoyance that you've kind of had to deal with, where maybe you send a message to someone and you really want to reply back, and if they're not replying back to you, you're thinking like, oh my gosh, like did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? You know, and then if they finally reply back, it's like a breath of fresh air. Or maybe you send a whole bunch of texts in a row, waiting for that person to reply back. Quite literally, these messages, you can feel like you have to wait for them, or that you're starting to feel impatient for them. With this Eight of Wands energy, it's almost like you don't have to wait. And the other message of the Eight of Wands dealing with messages and air travel and stuff and swiftness means that this stuff's going to get sped up the more you focus on this self-love and putting this vase upright, so to speak. Now, some other things that are interesting to point out is with the King of Wands here, we have a peace pipe, right? And a buffalo, a very strong, powerful buffalo in the background, and this peace pipe in the front ground. This is also correlating to drink tea. And it's basically saying that, like, you're going to get a lot of strength from, like, herbal remedies, right? Yeah, I'm, like, for some of you, like, and this is not necessarily saying, like, smoke weed or do drugs or something like that. This is talking about, like, light herbs, like thyme or rosemary, or finding, like, a book on herbs and kind of seeing what herbs benefit different things. This can also be in, like, cooking and stuff, but specifically they're talking about drinking tea and herbal tea. So if you're the type of person who likes to cook and create your own creations, and you like to experiment with, like, chemistry and stuff, combining different ingredients together and stuff like that, and doing your own kind of thing like that, it's really recommending, like, getting in tune and, like, figuring out what kind of herbs would help you on this journey, and what kind of herbs would help you in general. What I'm seeing as far as, like, your entire healing journey, something that's, like, bigger and beyond you, beyond this self-love aspect, and bringing in that self-love for yourself, getting in touch with what herbs are going to work for you. So say you're someone who's really worked with crystals. You can keep working with crystals, but specifically they're talking about using herbal remedies. So looking and seeing what herbs do what, maybe making your own teas, and getting, you can get one of those little tea cozy container things where you put the material in the tea thing and you lock it up, and you can basically make your own tea. And that's really going to help you advance basically in your spiritual journey. That is something outside yourself, that is not something you focus on the inward with the meditations and stuff, but I really see it really helping you in your life, is like figuring out what kind of herbal remedies you can, like, use to basically, like, help advance your spiritual practice. The other thing is, you do have two spirit guides here in the tower. There's these two men, and they have masks on, and the tower's in the background and in shadow. You do have two spirit guides, and first of all, the shadow of the tower represents the fact that you have this structure, and the tower right here is represented in the sense of, like, a sense of safety or a sense of structure that instead of the tower being destroyed, right, and falling to the ground and your structure being completely abolished, this tower is representing a structure that is standing very strong, very sturdy, very secure, right? But the thing is you can't see this tower. It's in shadow. The only people who really have access to this tower are your guides right here with their masks on, and they're kind of invisible as well. It's kind of like something that's going on in the background, and that you aren't really aware or conscious of that you're doing. So don't feel bad if you feel like all this stuff is working up to, like, nothing, or that all this stuff that you're practicing for your self-care is, like, nothing. I see for some of you that you might work on self-care for a little bit, or start to go on the healing journey and realize, maybe nothing's happening. Maybe you're just staying the same. You're the same person, or nothing's really going on. Like, you've tried meditation and nothing really comes of it. You still feel like the same person. This card is just basically suggesting and saying that a lot of stuff is happening in the background. It's like building the structure of your kind of, like, identity. And basically, when you work on these self-healing practices, you have two guides that are working with you. And they are kind of like helping to guide you along in a sense. And the thing is they're masked. So they're probably guides that like to keep in the background and not show themselves too much. But they're helping to work to build this structure. It's kind of like this invisible structure that's kind of like the backbone of your life. You might not be able to see it, but on a deeper level, you can really feel that it's there. And I think a lot of this working with the Kundalini energies and working with the raising the chakras, basically, and making this vase upright is really going to help you kind of like deal and build that kind of like tower. Another thing right here, so we have covered drink tea with the tea and the King of Wands energy with the peace pipe right here. Basically, it's just saying get in touch with herbs, herbal remedies. And specifically, it's saying instead of smoking these herbal remedies, making tea out of it and focusing on drinking tea is like a form of like kind of like self-help, self-healing. Another thing too, we have spend time with animals, and this is really important. Basically, because we have this buffalo back here, right? And it's this strong, intense, like almost like dominant buffalo in this image, and it's white, which represents kind of like help from the higher realms. You might be the type of person who has a real deep and strong and abiding connection with animals. Even like animal spirit guides, if you don't have a pet, you might like really relate to wild animals. Whenever you see an animal in your environment, whether it's as simple if you live in the city as like a pigeon or a squirrel or something like that, or if you live in the woods, like maybe owls or like even woodpeckers pecking on trees and stuff. Those are all bird creatures, but also like land-dwelling creatures as well. It's really any kind of creature. If you look in this, she has a cat, which is a domestic creature. There's a ground squirrel right here, which is kind of like can be a scavenger for humans. We have a wolf or a dog, and then we have this little bird and an owl and a deer. So basically any kind of creature, you'll be able to learn from. Something that could really help you is watching animals or seeing how they kind of like behave or how they're, specifically like with their movements I'm seeing. Yeah, what's really is asked of you with this Three of Wands over here and the kind of like core issue is looking too high and upward towards like divine things that are happening and towards meaning coming from above down below. I think the more you focus on your body, the more actual meaning you will find. You'll find more divinity within yourself and within your true core being than you will from anything outside yourself. Something else that might be beneficial is even though signs from the outside are beneficial, like angel numbers and stuff like that, sometimes we can start to overanalyze those things. And what I'm seeing here is focusing in on the body and maybe more on the chakras and the meridian points. You will start to like feel the signs instead of like think through the signs, if that makes sense. Yeah, and I'm really happy this little gift or this benefit that's coming to you with Message in a Bottle is you'll be able to send a message out and be able to wait patiently for any kind of message to return to you. The reason you can wait so patiently is not because of like calculation or kind of like strategy on your part to be like, oh, I'm going to send the text and then, I'm just going to not respond or play it cool. It's not like that. It's the fact that you have so much self-love within you that it doesn't matter if someone responds back or not. You kind of have this sense of like, or you will gain this kind of sense of like security in the sense that you will be able to kind of like sit on your own and kind of like just dwell in your own cup. Once you put this cup upright, the cup is filling with water constantly. That's the thing about the Ace of Cups is it's constantly filling up so much that it's overflowing out of the cup. You can think of this cup as like quite a magical cup. But with this snake being out of whack, it's tipping the vase over and the water's kind of always spilling out instead of flowing up and outward, right? With this message to the heavens and sending things to the divine, once you get this cup flowing up and outward, and up directly, it can flow in kind of like, if you look at the Ace of Cups, the water spouts off in all directions evenly, instead of tilting off to one side specifically or something like that. Basically, aligning this cup is going to bring you a lot of self-love and you'll have a lot of true self-love. And true love, come to me, also represents love from other people as well. I would say not to focus on the love from other people at this point though, because that might get you more in this area of looking outside yourself for this kind of connection. But basically like true love come to me. Basically you will have this kind of like sense of well-being by working on these healing journey. It is going on this healing journey basically. Yeah. This is really cool. I'm not too into herbal remedies and stuff. I mainly work with crystals and stuff, but this is really cool. Like you might get into some certain teas or remedies, or you can even look for these things online. I know a lot of like metaphysical shops have like a tea section with like different types of teas or herbal teas. I know for me, the herbs that I have gotten into at some point were I think it's pronounced Ansi seed, and yeah, Ansi seed for like dream work. I used a little sachet of Ansi seeds when I wanted to like lucid dream when I was, this was when I was younger, like 13 or something. But yeah, getting in touch with herbs is going to help. I think I about covered it. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much. And with that said, we're going to move on to, oh yeah, thank you for watching the reading. If you like the reading, like or comment below. If you really like this reading, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post pick-a-cards like this once every 1 to 2 weeks. And with that said, we're going to move on to group 2 with the Smokey Quartz. Hey, group 2. If you chose the Smokey Quartz. So pretty cool stone. This one's a pretty dark version of Smokey Quartz. I was super drawn to this stone at a gem show, so specifically for the channel. So hopefully you guys like that one if you chose it. Anyway, let's get into the reading. So the cards that flipped up upright are Success and Chop Wood. And it's interesting because this is kind of talking about what the journey's about, the healing journey's about. And then Chop Wood is kind of like something that's going to result or some kind of benefit that you're going to get from the journey. At least that's what this card represented in the last reading. I still need to flip over the rest of the cards to get the full picture. But so far it looks like the focus is going to be on the byproduct of the healing and also kind of like the main journey of the healing. So rather than just like the intermediate steps or even the self-care cards. So let's get into your reading. I'll flip over the rest of your cards now. We have aromatherapy as one of your things and abundance planning. And for your tarot cards, we have 8 of Pentacles, 2 of Swords, 9 of Pentacles, 10 of Pentacles, and Queen of Chalices. Okay, everyone, let's get into your reading. So let's see. So first we have Success. This is going to be kind of like the general theme of the healing journey if you chose the Smokey Quartz. This is very much a almost like a pragmatic healing journey for like a career like reading basically. And if you are focusing on you want to achieve more success in your life and you have kind of like not achieved that kind of success that you're looking for, or you have issues around success where you feel like you wanted to achieve success and you never really got there, you never really reached it, or kind of like the elusive nature of success and failure we can talk about here as well. But basically this is getting you on the point of making moves in your life to kind of like reap in and bring in success, while also kind of eliminating kind of like the cause of kind of like feeling like you need to almost fake success. It's kind of like bringing you a true form of success that will radiate outwards so other people can see it. But before we do that, there's like a block here that we got to discuss. But at the same time, it's not about showing off, is what we see here with the 2 of Swords with this rooster, this kind of like this, which I associate with pride. But yeah, let's get into it. It's going to be a fun reading, hopefully. Hopefully you enjoy this reading. Anyway, so let's get into it. So first of all, I want to start with the 8 of Pentacles. This card is about slow and steady progress forward. Ironically, with this card, there's a woman in the river and she has her whole body under the water and her head above the water. Now her eyes are closed, but it's like that, and that's kind of the interesting point. If they were open, she'd be looking at this bug on the surface of the water. But they are closed, so that kind of indicates that the bug is kind of like in her mind. So there's kind of a block going on where it's almost like the block is in your own head, basically. And basically it has to deal with making slow and steady progress forward, right? It's almost like as soon as you start to practice or work on something and take things step by step, there's this element that there's something in your way, or there's some kind of creature or thing in your way that is kind of like a lot of people, like some of my friends specifically, find insects really disgusting and they're freaked out by them. But the insects don't have to be that way. And what we're basically saying is that it's like you see this kind of looming thing in your mind's eye, you know? And what we're trying to, this is kind of like an interesting factor too, is because on one hand, you're submerged in the water and only your head is kind of like above water. And then when we go to the 2 of Swords card, we have this big celebration, you know, with this person throwing like confetti everywhere, and we have this peacock right here. And the thing is, with the peacock, there's a sense of pride, right? And the thing is, the Two of Swords is also can be about indecision or having to make a choice or like two paths and stuff. We're seeing that's kind of the case here, but there's more a strong sense of indecision in the sense that sometimes when you are basically hiding all your light away or hiding your shadow or working quietly in private towards your goals, building step by step, you run into some obstacles. And even when you try to bring your stuff out into the light of day, kind of share with others and kind of like talk about your success, you're also running into obstacles. Basically, this dichotomy is almost meaningless in the sense of you achieving success. It doesn't matter so much if you keep it to yourself or you share it. It's kind of like saying that either or is kind of like something you could do. Although it is recommending to find a middle ground with these two things, because that's a whole other issue on its own. But it's not really something that's gonna like change your level of success basically by being too like prideful about it or too kind of like introverted about it and kind of working in secret and private. Basically, these are just kind of two extremes of that your personality could take, or that people who are watching this reading, maybe some of you relate more to this prideful side and others of you relate more to this kind of introverted work slowly and surely side. But either way, one's kind of about showing off your success and abundance, and the other one is more about kind of keeping it to yourself and working in private along your goals and not sharing that success. So whatever version of this you are, the key thing was with the Nine of Pentacles, and the Nine of Pentacles traditionally represents independent success. That's kind of like something that you've achieved for yourself and you're really being rewarded for it. It comes after the Eight of Pentacles right over here. And it's interesting that we have the Two of Swords in between both of these cards. So what this is asking you to do is in private, going back to the Eight of Pentacles, write down some of your goals for success and your fears for success. And kind of, you can even make a whole journal entry if you want to. What we see here with abundance planning, this is going to be really key in this particular aspect of the reading, is kind of writing things down. Writing it down, rather than kind of like keeping it to yourself or sharing it with a whole bunch of people, writing it down in a journal is kind of that middle ground of kind of like just keeping it like out there or externalizing it, but not letting other people hear it, right? And the thing with this is, the interesting thing with this is you're actually going to make it disappear and make it become invisible through a burning bowl ritual. And that's what's indicated here by the Nine of Pentacles, saying that you're going to take these thoughts of your abundance and what you're kind of looking for in the future, what kind of ideas and things that you want success-wise, and you're going to basically burn them up in a fire. Do this safely, of course. You can put like a little bowl in your sink and kind of have a little fire there, and you can burn the things in your sink, or you can do it in a fireplace if it's very safe and you make sure the pieces get all the way into the fireplace. You don't want any, like, if there's wind around or anything like that, like just be very careful of that. Don't let the pieces fly around and stuff. But anyway, you're going to burn this stuff up and kind of, it's kind of like this kind of cleansing through fire, right? Like once it's outside yourself and it's burnt, then no one has access to it. Once you've expressed it on paper and it's burnt, now it's the universe's job to help bring this to you. Now it's the universe's job to help bring this abundance to you. What I'm seeing, however, is writing this stuff down is really important. And another thing too is if you're not ready to release it yet, if you're still ruminating on these financial plans or things that you want for your success, a key thing for you guys is to keep this written down and only burn it when you're ready to release it and you no longer want to think about it and you want to manifest it. Now that's only one part of the reading. What we see here with the Ten of Pentacles is these guys, right? And there's all these buffalo coming down the line. You know, they're walking down this path and they're coming down the line. And buffalo's kind of a representative of abundance because I believe the Native Americans use like all parts of the buffalo. That's at least the story I know of, is that they used all parts of the buffalo. The buffalo represented so much things for them. It represented food, like the hide represented either clothing or shelter. They used the bones for instruments. Basically, they used all parts of this creature. And so it represents kind of like a cornucopia of kind of like abundance coming down the line for you, basically. But if you look at these guys right here, it looks like they're struggling or having some difficulty either trying to feed the buffalo or get them to move or get them to work for them. So that's kind of part of the thing, right? Is that you can bring in this success, and you'll notice these things, these opportunities coming to you once you kind of get through this obstacle of whether you're, working slow and steady in private or like being flamboyant with others, kind of finding that middle path and kind of burning that kind of stuff into the fire. Kind of like is that kind of like symbolic message that you're going to let the universe do its job. You're going to let the universe take over, right? Telling people in your environment can feel like you're letting the universe take over because you're just expressing it. But the thing here is that other people then hear the message and that idea gets implanted in their mind, and it's not really gone for the universe. You just kind of transferred it to another person, another vessel. And that's kind of the point about the Two of Swords right here. It's interesting, the swords also represent communication, and specifically here with words, where the pentacles kind of represent kind of like solid, grounded endeavors. So you don't want to be all talk like this rooster here. You want to kind of ground your activities, and only when you're ready to let them go, once you've ruminated enough on them, send them off into the fire, and you can let the universe do the rest for you. It might feel weird because if you're the type of person who really relies on plans and you like to have everything written down to the point where you like follow everything by the book to like what you're kind of like planning and stuff, it might feel weird to just burn your plans before you've even executed them. Like you're throwing away your crutch that you use to kind of like guide you on your way into activity. Kind of like your instruction manual. You're kind of burning your instruction manual. You're like, how am I going to know what to do if my instructions are gone? But that's the whole point, is that you're sending it to the universe because the universe is now going to follow these instructions instead of you following them. You're going to work in tandem with the universe here. Another thing, so these buffalo, we got to this point, these buffalo are coming down here, following, and it's kind of like this like amount of money coming in, and it's almost like with the Ten of Pentacles represents that generational money. So what we're seeing here is this kind of like money coming in, whether it's from generations or other people or friends or whatever. You have these opportunities coming in towards you little by little. They might start out small at first and then get bigger, but basically you're starting to notice these opportunities. You're starting to notice these things coming in towards you. But the thing is, it's hard to get them to move. It's hard to get them to work to your advantage. This is where the second part of the reading comes in, and this is where you get the kind of byproduct of kind of like what's going on when you're achieving this success. Because what I'm seeing here is, when you came to this reading, it seems like most of you kind of wanted to manifest these opportunities, and you're kind of focused like, why am I not manifesting these opportunities? But the byproduct here is like an interesting thing right here. So with this Queen of Chalices card, if you notice, this card confused me at first looking at this reading, but I think I got it now. The Queen of Chalices, she is holding hands with this bear, and she's bringing him out of the cage, right? This is talking about taking your gentle nature, kind of like the nature here that's almost like afraid of the bug, right? But going into the cave, and instead of bringing out an insect, you're bringing out a fully grown bear. It's kind of like you're afraid that part of you is small, right? That part of you cannot handle these tasks. Part of you cannot handle what is to come. And so part of that is just this fear that you're small, or that this kind of creature in you is kind of insignificant, like an insect. But when you go into the cave, when you go into your inner self, when these opportunities come along, part of this process is facing that insect, facing that kind of like fear, basically opening your eyes and realizing, opening your eyes is a key point here, kind of looking around you and seeing what you've actually done, what you've actually accomplished, how you've come thus far, and like what you can actually do, The more you focus on that sense of gratitude too, it's going to help as well. But with the Queen of Cups, it's about going into that cave, finding that beast within, looking within and feeling that beast, feeling that power, and letting that power come out with that power, but have that power controlled. I'm definitely seeing that some of you might be afraid of your own power in some situations. Like maybe you've had situations where you've been like a little worried about your own aggressive tendencies, or you felt like the bear comes out and you're just kind of like can't control it or something. But Well, this is kind of like asking you to befriend the bear. And kind of like with the Queen of Chalices, this is speaking specifically with your intuition and kind of like the ebb and flows of your emotion, you know? Realize that kind of like this bear is kind of like you. And when you look into the eyes of this bear, when you open your eyes to face kind of like the reality of you, you have to realize that you are almost like an animal and you're as gentle as a human at the same time. You're as gentle as this woman. It's almost like the strength card in a sense with this card right here. She's kind of taming the bear, but she's also utilizing its energy. Interestingly enough, once you kind of face the beast within and bring it out to play, we have chop wood. And this is kind of just indicating like hard work or work that kind of seems boring or dull. But it's like with chop wood, you're like able to do it in an effective way that feels very... this difficult work is just going to seem really easy for you. We have a 4 and a 2 here on the card. It says 42, and that just kind of with added up makes 6, and that kind of represents harmony. With the 6 right there. And so with chopped wood, it's just basically indicating that you're going to have a sense of peace and harmony in your working, in your work ethic and work materials. Once you awaken this kind of like bear within. And you have to remember too, sometimes things go in cycles. I know in my life they go in cycles. So sometimes when you work with the bear, it's kind of like, with the bear specifically, the bear kind of like in the cage is kind of, in the cave is kind of like hibernating sometimes, and then it's out in the world like catching and eating food, you know, finding fish and berries or whatever it eats, you know. And so you have to realize there's a cyclical pattern to this. And that's also represented by the Queen of Chalices, is that cyclical pattern with the waves. So not just finding the bear and kind of awakening the bear and bringing him out, but realize, when does this bear need to sleep? When does this bear need to be out hunting? And when does this bear need to be hibernating? What are the cyclical patterns of my working behavior? And you'll find that when the bear is released and out, you can harness its ferociousness. You can harness the full power of it. And with chopped wood right here, this is just indicating that these menial tasks, these certain little tasks that you need to do to either prepare for winter or to prepare for the next moment of hibernation, you're basically able to do these with a sense of ease and kind of like less frustration than before. You know, with 8 of Pentacles, it's about taking things slowly and steadily, step by step, but almost being afraid to do it that way. With the Bear card, it's about cycles. It's about working when you feel ready and willing to work, and also like hibernating when you feel like it's time to hibernate. And remember, let your human nature, your gentleness coax this bear out of its kind of hibernation. Try not to force it. You know, if you poke a bear, people who poke a bear, you know, with like a stick or something, and the bear's like not in a cage or anything like that, the bear's like wild, like they won't, especially this type of bear, they won't live, you know, they won't live to tell the tale. Like, this is a ferocious beast, and you have to treat your own motivation as such, because I'm seeing that at certain points, your motivation can be ferocious like an animal and kind of spill out of control. So it's almost like when this beast is awakened or alert, you kind of guiding it gently. You want to be very gentle with your motivation and kind of your energy levels at this point, because being gentle with it is what's going to create that energy to get a lot done. You know, the bear is like a ferocious beast, right? If the energy's channeled in the right way, when the bear's out from hibernation, when he's collecting food in the woods and stuff, and he's not provoked and he's kind of protected, he can get a lot done. And that's gonna, that power, that energy, that fortitude is really gonna get all this. When these opportunities come in your way, the fortitude is really gonna accept these opportunities and kind of be able to get them to move, you know? Think of this buffalo as also kind of like, it's interesting. The buffalo represents the abundance, and it can also represent the bear in this case as well, with trying to get this buffalo to move. It's almost like you're trying to get your animal nature to work to your benefit. I'm definitely seeing with aromatherapy as well, filling your environment with specific aromas that are pleasing to the senses is really going to help you like calm down this beast within and get it to work in the correct way. Working in environments, like say you work at home or work out in a job somewhere, basically working with certain aromas to like help calm or ease your nervous system is really going to benefit keeping that ferociousness at bay. Sometimes when we're kind of upset, or before we get upset, if we like are in a pleasant smelling environment, we can feel very at ease or at peace without necessarily having to deal with like more of the frustrating aspects of that environment. And sometimes when we smell kind of like a weird smell or a certain smell, it can like irritate us. So what I'm seeing here with aromatherapy specifically is if you're working at home or you have a home job, keeping your home nice with like some nice smelling candles and stuff like that. Also with aromatherapy, if you're going out in public to work in different situations, finding a really nice perfume or a nice herbal, like either essential oils to put on your body or something like that, something that's going to create kind of a smell throughout the day for you that you get to smell. It's not something that you necessarily have to make so powerful other people smell it, but it's definitely a thing for you, right? So even if you put a little bit of perfume that's your favorite kind of scent on your wrist, and then when you're in a stressful situation or when you're kind of like doubting that you can be successful or achieve or kind of work to your full abilities, kind of like letting yourself smell that wrist, that perfume, and kind of let it re-energize you. Yeah, so essential oils can be very beneficial, specifically oils that are calming and also energizing at the same time. Yeah, for some of you, you'll want more of the calming oils, and for others of you, you'll want more of the energizing oils. It just depends on what's going to work for you. I would do some trial and error. But yeah, that is basically kind of like the healing journey for you. Remember, I wouldn't focus too much on if you should share the information or if you should keep it private and kind of like hidden to yourself. That dichotomy doesn't really apply so much here. The only reason that applies is to draw in the abundance. But if I wouldn't worry too much if you like, once you, the thing is, the focus is on this burning bowl ritual, right? Once you've burnt in the things, it's kind of like set. You can either keep it to yourself then, or you can share it with others. But once it's burnt and sent off initially, that's what's really going to draw in the success and abundance. Yeah, it's interesting because even sending these things off with the burning bowl ritual and sending these things off into the universe and having this abundance planning, burning it and forgetting about it to the point where you can never see it again, this is really gonna benefit you. It's because it's gonna come to you in kind of like waves, right? And hopefully with this bear card, it comes to you in the specific waves where you're ready to work. And that's kind of the key here, is like when the universe brings you things versus when you kind of are in the right mind, the right headspace to accept these opportunities. You know, with the bear here, these people can't move this buffalo. But if a bear was there, you sure as hell the buffalo's running away. You know, like the buffalo's like getting out of there. It's like kind of like motivated, you know. A bear has the strength to move the buffalo, basically. And with chop wood, it's interesting. You'll be able to do kind of like simple meaning, almost like meaningless tasks, but tasks that need to get done to achieve your success with relative ease. Yeah. Fire is really pronounced here, and especially because it's in the center of the reading and it's right below success. Not only will the burning rituals help, but also you can cleanse your environment through fire. And specifically the aromatherapy like doubles as a potent activator. If you find a specific scent that you like, that you really feel drawn to, this is really asking you to look for specific scents that you feel can awaken a sense of like calm alertness in you. And when you find that, a good example is like when you find a scent that like when you dream after burning the scent in your house and you're smelling that scent in your sleep, what kind of dreams do you have? Do you have kind of like crazy wild nightmares, or do you have kind of really blissful dreams? When you're hibernating as the bear does, right? When you're sleeping on these things, you can kind of understand the problems that are going into the situation. So you can kind of get a better feel for like what aroma is going to work for you. But specifically, if you find this in candle form, like scented candles and stuff, the correct scented candle with this 9 of Pentacles card with this fire, just having candles burning in your environment can really cleanse the energy. That fire kind of absorbs all that negativity. And also ideas and things that you're ruminating on. So it's not only about burning the paper, which I would highly recommend with this kind of like abundance planning, but also having that aroma fill the room and kind of absorb all the rest of that kind of negativity in your environment. That's really going to bridge you and get you healing on a journey of success. It's interesting because I feel like success is the thing you're looking for, or the thing that you want to heal, you want to achieve success, something of that nature. But what you're going to find is that these things, these abundance that comes along from the universe, it's kind of like meant and guided for you. It's kind of like a thing meant specifically for you, that maybe something that you thought you were going to be successful at in the beginning might not resonate with you anymore. And that's the point of writing it down on this paper and sending it to the universe, because you're trusting in the fact that the universe is going to bring you exactly what you need when you need it. And just basically being able to be energized and take on these small little tasks because you've tamed and made gentle the beast within. Specifically with aromatherapy, remember that with like candles and scents and stuff is going to help you get back to a calm place, is really going to be beneficial in kind of advancing your aspirations and achieving kind of like that forward momentum that's going to bring you the success you're looking for. All right. So I think that's about covers it for the reading. If you like that reading, like or comment below. If you really like this reading, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post pick cards like this once every 1 to 2 weeks. With that said, I really enjoyed reading for you. I hope all the success comes your way, guys. I really do. And we're going to move on to group 3 with the Herkimer Diamond. Hello, group 3. This is if you picked the Herkimer Diamond. So I think Herkimer Diamond is a form of quartz that just has kind of like a specific type of matrix to it. I know it's found in Herkimer, New York. So let's see. The cards that flipped up upright for you had quite a few. We have the Positive Affirmations card and Connect with Your Womb. And we have Unfinished Symphony and Queen of Wands. Now, these cards didn't flip upright, so we're going to flip those up right now and get into the rest of your reading. Let's see. So for your main kind of thing that is going on in your situation that you're trying to heal is imagination. Imagination now sets me free. Divine ones, I send my thanks to thee. Interesting. And then let's get over the rest of your tarot cards. We have the World. Wow. Knight of Swords. The Chariot, wow, a lot of forward momentum. 6 of Chalices. Oh, I can already tell I'm really enjoying this reading. This is really cool. Wow. Wow. This is going to be a very fun reading for you. A lot of you, I feel like, have been working on your healing for quite a while. You're almost completed with your healing. Well, completed, right? Because we're always healing. So this is just probably the next step on your journey. But I'm definitely saying what needs healing now is your imagination. Something about your imagination, it's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's like wild or out of control. It's just that it's going to really help like liberate you kind of in the long run. Now it's interesting. This is possibly just the next step on your healing journey. And I'm glad I made that point, because what I'm seeing here with Unfinished Symphony is there's still more work to do. And that's part of this journey, is that realizing that there's kind of always healing work to do and that it's actually quite enjoyable. We see here with the Queen of Wands over here, her like in her sense of, I just see her as, you know, kind of walking with this utmost sense of pride and accomplishment. She has her staff in one hand and her beads on the other. And I specifically was looking at these as kind of like prayer beads or prayer kind of like, symbols of like sending prayer. And it's interesting we have those prayer beads there, because we also have in this imagination now sets me free, and then right here, divine ones, I send my thanks to thee. So this is really with imagination being this pale purple color. This is all about kind of receiving things through the crown chakra. Very different from group 1, where they started with their body. Basically for you, you've kind of accomplished a lot through your body already, and now it's time to focus on the mind and imagination. And it's interesting, this imagination is going to come from a heart-centered place, as we see here with the Positive Affirmations cards, her holding her heart. Anyway, coming to this reading, it's interesting. We have the World card here, which basically means that in your healing journey, you've completed the part of the healing journey where you've realized that healing is beneficial. You're kind of at this point where you're not scared of healing anymore. You're just ready for the next step. You're ready for the next thing. And the World card just indicates you've come to this pivotal completion point of being not scared of healing, but searching for healing, right? The world is a big, vast place, right? And it kind of represents kind of like, you know, being ready to travel, being ready to expand, being ready for more, searching for more. You've realized what you've accomplished in this area and you're ready to move. You're ready to get out and do something new. And what we see here with this Knight of Swords, right, is all it takes is kind of like forward momentum to get this going, right? As soon as you kind of get movement into your life, we have Knight of Swords and the Chariot. So this is really indicating like a lot of movement in your life. Basically, with the healing journey, it's basically encouraging you to put in some movement activity into your daily life. Get like exercising, put in, maybe if you like have any kind of like thing that travels distances or travels locations. So if you go on walks every day, like every day you go on your walk, if you're able to in your environment, go walk a little farther than you did the day before, walk a little longer. Basically keeping that movement and expanding. Expansion is the key word here. Is really going to benefit you in your healing journey. For a lot of you, I feel like you have, even if you feel like you haven't done some healing, I feel like a lot of you have actually healed a lot about yourself and you're just kind of ready for the next thing. Like healing doesn't scare you anymore, I'm seeing. Yeah, what I'm seeing here is like getting movement and getting focused on your body and really paying attention to what your body is saying is also going to affect your mind and affect your imagination. One thing also is that once you get moving, there's this aspect of like getting quiet as well with the positive affirmations, and also, well, it can be both, but I'm suggesting both because life is always kind of like like cycles of movement and standing still. You can't just constantly be moving, right? But something that's indicated here with the Chariot card is, it's interesting because this card, there's these birds and there's a guy in the, like having these two eagles carrying him, and he's by this tree. He's literally flying up into the air, right? And this horse is running on the ground very swiftly. There's a lot of swift action here. So this just indicates that your healing journey has a lot of momentum already, and all you have to do is keep stoking the fire, keeping it going, and you're going to keep transcending onward and upward. With imagination, this is just pointing out that your imagination right now is what's going to set you free in this particular instance. This is kind of what needs to be worked on, and it's kind of the key to unlocking a beautiful kind of like inner world that brings you peace and well-being. It's interesting. We have an inner world and we have an outer world. We're not just like in one or the other. And it's interesting that with the world card here, speaking about different worlds, going into the outer world and expanding and moving to different locations is going to change how your inner world relates to it. It's going to change what happens in your inner world. Going to different areas is going to change what happens within the inner mind. Yeah, a lot of this reading is about continuing your healing journey, like continuing healing from what you've been healing before. With Six of Chalices, we have this little protector friend. And because it's the Six of Chalices, this represents a situation in your youth that has come back to like save you in the here and now. There might have been a childhood friend or someone from your past that's come back into your life and has become a very protective influence for you. This tree here, this tree that you've climbed to fly with these eagles, climbing up the tree, there might be some bugs along the way. And this is just a small little thing because bugs are really small. Sometimes they can seem significant because they can seem kind of scary at times for some people. But the thing is with these, they're very insignificant, and this bird can easily peck them away, right? This bird easily eats the bugs off this tree. And so you have this protector friend that's basically protecting the ability or the area. The tree kind of represents this ability to channel upward into your imagination. And this friend is kind of pecking away these little bugs that kind of would eat at your mind, basically, or eat at your body, like kind of like your imaginative world, and kind of like protecting you. So what we're seeing here with the Six of Chalices is this can also represent a childhood situation that brought you a lot of peace, brought you a lot of bliss, and reconnecting with that childhood situation. So for example, I can use an example from my life. being the passenger in a car where someone else is driving and being able to look out the window and just kind of watch everything go by is something that's a pastime of mine. And that is something in my childhood, as a child, when I was in long car rides and traveling on trips, it was very easy for me to let my imagination run free. A lot of my most imaginative thoughts were in long car rides where I had nothing to do but look outside at the world changing and visualizing in my inner mind what I was thinking about. So for example, that's something in my past that really created that sense of imagination for me. And that's kind of, in a way, it's kind of reiterating something like that, because with my situation, there was a car, there was a situation of like driving or movement. And that's what we're seeing here, is a sense of movement and motion forward, kind of moving to a different location, moving to, it's interesting, the Herkimer diamond is actually from New York, Herkimer in New York, right? And I live in California. So just from this reading to all the way to New York, that would be traveling across a land, you know, traveling across an entire continent, basically. So with the world card, it's really urging you to explore, to travel, to kind of like see different worlds, see different places, because it's really going to stimulate your mind and your imagination to like be in different locations within your own mind, basically. Now, something else that's indicated right here with positive affirmations, these self-care cards are just things you can work on to help your imagination, function better. What I'm seeing here with, well, which one should I start with? I'll start with connect with your womb and come back to positive affirmations. With connect with your womb, this is specifically for my female readers. Specifically, I know this is kind of like maybe like TMI and stuff, but getting in tune with the ebbs and flows of your menstrual cycle, basically, and seeing when it's like coming or going. And by no means, I'm not the expert in this because I am a male tarot reader, but getting in tune with like when this period of time is active and when it's not, because what I'm seeing here is you might want to settle down into a more comfortable position or stay at home when this time period is active if you have any kind of like pains or cramps or anything like that. That might affect your ability to want to travel or go to different locations. And also I'm thinking of the moon cycles also with the connect with the womb here. So getting in tune with the moon cycles as well and kind of figuring out when is the time where you want to travel? When is the time when you're ready to expand, when your imagination is flowering and you want to bring in those new thoughts and ideas, you know? Because what I'm seeing here is it's not so much the traveling, the physical traveling that helps you, it's the imagination that is kind of like created through the traveling. You know, I think that with enough practice of traveling from physical locations to different physical locations, when you're by yourself, and even when you're with this period, when you're in this period of your time with connect with your womb, where it might be a little more painful, a little more difficult to kind of like just be in your imagination, you'll be able to travel outside yourself and kind of like, even though you're connecting with your body and you want to connect with your body and focus on it, you'll be able to have peaceful thoughts in this certain period of time, right? Because of this traveling. But just give yourself that rest, take care of yourself with connect with your womb during those periods of your life. Make sure you are, you know, taking the right medications and, really taking care of yourself during this time, really nurturing yourself, really pampering yourself, making sure you're taking it easy and relaxing during this time. I mean, this is not a time to like stress yourself out. This is a time for like some self-care and some like kind of like connection to this area of your body. Yeah, with the world card, it's interesting this card came out because I am a male tarot reader. So for a lot of you, what I'm saying like might not apply. But for a lot of you, I think this card is going to kind of speak for itself with connect with your womb. You're going to kind of know what this represents for you, because the cards don't just come out for me to like, you know, like usually I can interpret the cards, but if there's a card I can't interpret, I know the message is for you and you guys will be able to receive that with ease or with understanding. Anyway, getting out and kind of focusing on physical travel. And even then when you like after you get back from a trip or something like that, let your imagination roam over all the experiences that you experienced. And even then, when you're just sitting at home alone or when you're by yourself, it's going to really stimulate your ability to be imaginative with yourself. Something that a lot of you might have thought about leaving behind is like television, or leaving behind kind of like things that take up like what your imagination could do for itself. I feel like a lot of you are going to enjoy, when this time period's over, a lot of you are going to really enjoy your time alone and kind of like your time to kind of like process information for yourself, and also basically be illuminated and kind of fascinated by the mental wanderings of your own mind. You won't need kind of like your cell phone anymore, or to watch a movie anymore, or even to read a book, although I feel those things will still be enjoyable for you. You'll be able to sit in peace and quiet with yourself and let your imagination set you free. I see that this with the Queen of Wands is really bringing a sense of divine connection with. It says, divine ones, I send my thanks to thee. This is really bringing a sense of divine connection to things outside yourself, to things higher than yourself, things that are basically like, whether you believe in the God or a god or a goddess or anything like that, anything divine above you, I definitely see that this is going to really inspire a worship in higher beings beyond you. You know, that could be angels, it could be spirit guides, it could be the spirit realm itself or the universe. It's really going to inspire a deeper connection with those realms of those worlds, basically. Yeah, with the prayer braids, prayer braids. Braid your hair, folks. With the prayer beads, it's really representing like focusing on meditating with an object in your hands and kind of like thinking about different things in your mind, maybe like touching objects and seeing what kind of imaginative worlds does touching those objects evoke in your mind. Basically, you can get really creative with this, with your imagination. You can experiment with tons of different ways of stimulating your imagination. Once you kind of know the way to fuel this kind of imaginative side of yourself, and knowing that it's kind of connected to divine beings, and the fact that like you're blessed with this kind of sense of imagination, I really think that like you can get really creative with it. One thing that the cards are urging you to, or for me to tell you with positive affirmations tied in with imagination, is kind of, let me see if I can explain this correctly. It's kind of a process, but hopefully I'll be able to get it out. Basically, when you're by yourself and your mind is running, also with imagination, something else that can stimulate imagination is like iolite, or even sunstone iolite, or any kind of third eye stone can like help stimulate it if you're laying down using a third eye stone. But specifically, once you awaken this imagination through the movement and stuff, with the positive affirmations, this is indicating like what you want your imagination to think of, right? And it's basically saying that like positive affirmations of yourself and your environment and stuff are really going to get your imagination to flourish in a really nice way. So for example, you could think, I am as peaceful as the ocean, or I am as peaceful as a lake, or something. If you're thinking of a body of water or something and you're thinking of the word peaceful, that's a positive affirmation, right? It's really first of all, it's a place, it's a location. The ocean or a lake is a location that you could travel to, right? And the key here is that when you say that, I'm as positive as a lake or an ocean, right? You literally, with your imagination, you're going to imagine a time where you were next to a body of water, whatever body of water you choose. And that's just for this example. You can choose any natural setting, whether it's a mountain or a canyon, or even something else like something that's man-made. Like I have as much knowledge, or like I know as my vocabulary is as good as the dictionary itself, right? Basically, whatever you're thinking of, it's going to evoke those symbols in your mind, right? And you're going to start to process those different things, and it's going to lead on a trail of thought that basically stimulates your imagination to not only absorb that positive affirmation, but see where that positive affirmation leads you. Eventually, you'll start to see which positive affirmations lead your mind down specific paths enough where you'll know which positive affirmations start off positive trails of thought. which ones start off different trails of thought, where those trails of thought go. And that specifically for a lot of you, because of this whole healing process and you're just enjoying this healing journey, your imagination is going to lead you on to what is going to need to be healed next, right? Your imagination is going to set you free, basically. With the positive affirmations, starting with those, like say you start with, I am as peaceful as the ocean, or I'm as peaceful as the ocean. We'll just say that. I'm as peaceful as the ocean. Maybe then you start thinking of the ocean waves. Maybe you think of a pier that you once saw. Maybe the pier is so sturdy in the ocean, you realize it's such a solid structure, yet it reaches out and is above the ocean. And you kind of explore these environments. Your imagination, your thoughts, and kind of like your mental wanderings kind of give you this kind of like, it's hard to explain. It'll be like, basically you'll start thinking of concepts or ideas with kind of like the concept of the ocean, basically. And if it takes it to a negative place, like brings up a traumatic moment of your past, maybe the sturdiness of the bridge suddenly reminds you of the instability of your childhood or something like that, take note that when you said, I am loving as peaceful as the ocean, that's where your mind wandered to, right? That's where your mind went. Then go back and try a different positive affirmation. Say, I am as mystical as the desert. And then think of how many mysteries the desert inspires in you. And when you're thinking of the desert, see where that trail of thought goes. And then if a new trauma pops up, it's kind of like these positive affirmations are showing you kind of like what needs to be healed next. And at the same time, creating and like immersing you more into your imaginative senses. Yeah, so with these prayer beads, it's kind of like going one by one through each bead and have a positive affirmation for kind of like each bead that you go through. And with Unfinished Symphony, it's kind of giving you that reassurance that your healing journey is not done. It's not completed. There's still more to go. With Unfinished Symphony, there's always more to heal. There's always more to process, right? Like, trust me, this group, you guys have... If you came to this reading, most of you have like already healed a lot so far. Whether you realize it or not, you're pretty good at healing. You're pretty good at self-healing. You're very whole and kind of collected already, even though, you came to this reading, it's kind of like a curiosity or a craving, because it's like you just want what's next, right? You want to heal the next thing. So all of this process is going to help you get to those next things to heal. It's going to stimulate your imagination, which is going to be a great asset in this journey. Remember, you are protected, and things from your past can bring you more protection than you think. Even though we're talking about traumas from your past and stuff like that, there were also good things in your past. The Six of Chalices is about past moments, and specifically memorable past moments, that can evoke that sense of imagination. Because when we're young, when we're children, we have more of a sense of imagination than when we're adults, usually. So to reignite that imagination, going to places of your youth, or revisiting old friends, or kind of like getting in touch with old things in your life, or things that you used to connect with, can really re-inspire that imaginative act. I think that's about it. If you guys enjoyed that reading, you can like or comment below. If you really like this reading, feel free to subscribe to my channel. With that said, I really enjoyed reading for this pile, especially you guys are pretty advanced on your healing journey. Well, most of you that came to this reading are pretty advanced on your healing journey. I recommend, if you pick this pile and you don't feel like you're so advanced on your healing journey, revisit this pile in the future when you feel like you've overcome some other major hurdles that might take a little more work to get through, and come back to this reading, because it could really help you once you're kind of like on the path of healing, and you kind of just want the next thing, right? Like you're just looking for the next thing to heal because you just love the process. Anyway, so we're going to move on to group 4 with the Hemimorphite. Hello, group 4. This is if you picked the Hemimorphite. It's this kind of beautiful cyan kind of colored stone. So let's get into your reading. We had a few cards that flipped up upright. Your main theme of the reading flipped up upright, and so did your 2 self-care cards. So that's going to be really important to really activate this healing journey. And we also have the Hangman that flipped up upright. So that's another thing that's going to be really important to activate this healing journey that you're going on, or what needs to heal, basically. Let's flip over the rest of your cards and we'll see what the cards have to offer. We have the 9 of Pentacles. Then we have the Queen of Chalices. Interesting. I believe it was group 2 who also got those 2 cards. Then we have the 6 of Wands. And we have the Knave of Wands. Oh, this is so interesting. In a weird way, this reminds me of group 3 right off the bat, but let me keep taking a look at this and we'll get into it. Okay, it's interesting. Some of you might have been a little scared. Oh, I didn't flip over the last card. Wow, okay, so we have exchanging gifts. Oh, cool. Okay, some of you might have been a little scared of this rest card because you might be thinking like, rest, I hate sleeping. I have nightmares all the time, you know? And a lot of you in this group, we're going to be healing with the Knave of Wands over here. You see this woman and she's dreaming and all these like creatures and butterflies are flying around in her mind, representing this like beautiful inner dream world. And that's kind of what we're trying to heal here is your dream life. And kind of like how your subconscious is acting and how you kind of sleep. This is kind of healing your patterns of sleep and how you feel when you sleep and how you feel when you wake up and stuff like that. So first of all, we want to start off by saying that you're in a really good place already in life. This is kind of the last thing you need to focus on. If you think of the swords cards in tarot, the 9 of swords, which is interesting that it didn't show up here, but we have the 9 of pentacles here representing where you're kind of like starting from. The 9 of swords indicates a time period where you're kind of like, you're almost completed to the end of the swords, but especially if it's interchanged with other numbers, it could be a time where right during the basics of completion, of completing the kind of thing in your life, you're beset by nightmares, worries, anxieties. It's almost like that little step right before the final goal that kind of like freaks you out because you're just about to reach the final goal and you like start to get worried or tense or anxious or nervous. And like right before you achieve it, you back out. Or you have a fear or anxiety before you actually accomplish the next thing. So with 9 of Pentacles, this is just saying that this is what's kind of happening. The 9 of Swords specifically in this case is sometimes it represents other anxieties too, but for this particular case is representing anxieties in your dreams. It's almost like you've achieved so much, you're on your way to success, you have this spark lit under you, you're like doing really well for yourself. You basically have like the motivation to take on like tons of like mountains, basically. You know, you're doing very well for yourself. And even if you don't have the motivation to take on mountains, where you're at right now feels like you're really accomplished, especially in the material realm, right? With the physical world. You know, you might have done something miraculous recently where you've like accomplished like achieving the physique that you want, that you've always dreamed of having. Or you might be like in business somewhere, or you might achieve a massive amount of wealth recently. Or you might just be in generally very gracious and kind of living your best life. The 9 of Pentacles can also talk about indulgences, like kind of indulging in food, drink, like the richness and fullness of life, you know, and being independent too, like being kind of like on your own or achieved a sense of solidarity in your kind of like self. So with safe travel, this is all about kind of safely traveling through your dreams, right? It says, keep me safe and let me roam far away, but bring me home. Bringing home is kind of like when you wake up and you're kind of back in the reality that you are living in with all the rest of the people in the world, right? This is basically saying that like, we're going to basically with this healing journey be talking about healing the inner world or healing the subconscious, in order to dream kind of freely and kind of like be able to travel safely while you're asleep and kind of come home and wake up feeling refreshed, you know? Safe travel in your dream can just represent kind of avoiding like either if you dream about monsters or nightmares or any kind of dark thing in your subconscious, being able to travel safely through and not let it affect you. Or even if you see them or encounter them, you're traveling through safely. It's not bothering you basically. For some of you, it's interesting because when we have the Queen of Chalices here and the Hangman here, this is pointing very strongly to kind of like intuition and using your intuition to kind of help you through these processes or realizing that this is very much in the intuitive realm. But yeah, basically what's needed here is to take some time out during your kind of like busy lifestyle. With the Queen of Chalices here, she's basically bringing this bear out of hibernation into the waking world. So this starts with kind of like waking up, right? This kind of starts with waking up from a slumber and like setting aside some time after you dream to like work through a lot of these things, right? With the Hangman and the Six of Wands, something that's interesting here is that it's important to take some time out to either meditate or contemplate and view things from a different perspective. For example, if you're constantly viewing the world in one specific way, like say you're constantly future focused and you're constantly planning for the future. So you might think like, okay, in 3 years, I want to get this done. In 5 years, I want to get this done. 6 years, I want to get this done. Or maybe next month, I'm going to get this done. Something like that. Maybe taking some time out and instead of orienting to the past or the future, orient to the past. What have you already accomplished? You know, you could look at like, okay, I've accomplished this goal, and this goal, you know, made me feel so good. I've accomplished this, and that way you bring some gratitude into your life. Or in the opposite, if you're constantly looking into the past and kind of your failures of the past, you know, like if you're looking to the past and thinking like, oh man, I didn't do this, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do this, and looking at the failures, first of all, looking at the things that you did right in your past is going to help as well. But looking into the future and kind of reorienting your direction to the future and thinking, what can I achieve? What can I like set my mind to? And kind of like, instead of looking at the failures of the past, looking at the future with a fresh perspective, leaving the past completely behind, knowing that the present is an opportunity to grow and develop into the future. And travel that way. So with the Hangman, it's about shifting your perspective. And that's just one example of how you could shift your perspective. Basically, your main mode of operating, you're going to want to shift your perspective to the opposite way just to kind of like indulge that for a little bit, because that's kind of what's needed in this last little step. And with the Six of Wands, it's specifically talking about accomplishment. So whatever direction you're orienting yourself in, say you maybe spend most of your time in your head, or you're very imaginative, you're kind of to yourself or in your own world all the time in the waking world, spend some time outside yourself and the sensory things in your environment. What physically and sensorially do you have going on that represents accomplishment to you? You know, or if you spend so much time in your physical environment, pull back and spend some time in your imagination. What in your own mind have you accomplished or achieved that you're very, very proud of? And that goes with the future and past as well. If you're looking at the future and reorienting the past, what have you accomplished in the past, or what can you accomplish in the future? You know, really, there's no exact direction for this, except that the cards basically want you or urging you to look in a kind of different direction than you normally look in, and look at the positive in that direction. You know, the Hangman is flipped upside down and he's enlightened because he has that halo over his head, you know? This is really going to shed some light onto the different areas of your light and make you feel gratitude in a brand new area that you haven't even worked with before. And that focusing on that area is going to kind of, because it's the opposite area, it's kind of like if you think of the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, say you're in the conscious mind, your normally direction is pointed this way in the conscious mind, pointing in the opposite direction is going to reattach itself to your subconscious mind, right? The cool thing about this is when you reattach to your subconscious mind, you are kind of in a way, how do I put this? You're fueling and feeding positive vibrations into that opposite orientation of basically what your dream world is, where your dream world's coming from. And that's really going to be beneficial, because then when you finally sleep, when you finally rest, which was what we see here in the Knave of Wands, you're going to have a lot of positive experiences in your dream world. And those positive experiences in your dream world are basically going to enhance your waking life. When you wake back up, the direction that you kind of normally focus on, the conscious direction, is going to be lifted a little bit. And it's interesting, you might even be doing well in this conscious direction. So it's still about orienting in the opposite direction just to get kind of like this different idea. The Hangman also is like Pisces energy, so you can think of being oriented in the different direction. And you know, the Hangman is the card right before the Death card, you know, which is a transition into the next life. So if you think about this, it's kind of the final world, or the final kind of like frontier. And that's what we see again here with the 9 being almost a card about almost being completed. Yeah, and it's interesting with exchanging gifts. It's kind of like you're changing mode of thinking. That's thing for this card is you're changing way of thinking, one mode of thinking for another, just to kind of get into your subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind operates almost in that opposite direction. So when you're focused on the conscious world, you're not kind of focusing on the subconscious world. But in your waking life, if you focus on that area that is normally in darkness, there is this element that it will illuminate your dreams when you do fall asleep. Really important things here are rest, making sure you're getting adequate sleep, making sure your sleep environment is peaceful. There are other things that can disturb your dreams, like different lights in your room, or watching too much blue light TV before going to sleep, with that melatonin drain and stuff like that. So basically just whatever you've realized helps you get a better restful sleep, focus on that, help create your rest environment and create it as peaceful as you possibly can for this kind of transition that you're going through to help work with your subconscious mind. I'm seeing that with this Knave of Wands, you do get this beautiful kind of peaceful sleep, and with read, this is also going to be something that's beneficial to focus on reading books, and stimulating your imagination through reading is going to be really beneficial as well. Another thing that is recommended here is reading before bed, reading right before rest, because reading before bed is kind of something that is not you're not absorbing light from any kind of screen, which is going to disturb your sleep. And you're also, it's also an activity that you can easily fall asleep when you're doing it, especially when you read books that are less thrilling or less exciting and more kind of maybe just fantasy focused, but kind of droll along, I definitely see that reading is just going to be very beneficial before you go to sleep. And then with exchanging gifts, we have some interesting things where you're going to start to realize some of the gifts you had in your waking life are going to be focused in on your dreams, and some of the positive dreams that you accomplish in your sleeping life are going to be reawakened in your waking life. So you're going to be able to bring certain things in your dream world. Basically with safe travel, you're going to be able to travel safely through your dreams without being kind of burdened by anything negative. And remember, if you are, just remember to focus on that exercise, focus on the opposite orientation, kind of focus there and do some activities there in the conscious world. And then when you go into the subconscious world, it'll kind of pull those things into the subconscious. But with exchanging gifts, you're going to be able to bring some of the things that you experience in your dreams into your waking world. Your dreams are actually going to be more a reflection of your conscious reality than they would be a reflection of your subconscious reality. And that is basically going to bring you some gifts and abilities, or some understandings, or some ideas into the conscious world that you're going to be able to utilize really effectively. Yeah, with this fire here, I see that there's a fire under your belly. You're kind of really determined to kind of either accomplish a lot, or you already have accomplished a lot. So a lot of this is just orienting accomplishments in the opposite direction that you normally focus on. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that reading. I really enjoyed giving you this reading. If you like that reading, you can like or comment below. If you really like this reading, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post pick a cards once every 1 to 2 weeks. With that said, I'm going to leave you guys and bid you adieu. That was the final reading for today for this pick a card, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.